Funeral service for Dorothy Milliken, age 64, of Childersburg. Visitation will be Saturday from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. at Curtis & Son North, followed by the funeral service at 11 a.m. In lieu of flowers, contributions in Dorothy's memory may be made to Children's Hospital of Alabama. Ms. Milliken died on Tuesday, November the 9th in Birmingham. Curtis & Son Funeral Home directing. Mr. Bill Bailey died at his residence last night in Sylacauga. Curtis & Son Funeral Home announcing the arrangements. Visitation for Betty Casey will be tonight from 5 until 8 o'clock at Curtis & Son North, with a funeral service tomorrow, Saturday, at 2 p.m. from the North Chapel. Burial in the Evergreen Cemetery in Sylacauga. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. And funeral service for Joy Limbaugh will be Saturday morning at 11 a.m. from First Methodist Church in Childersburg, with burial in the Green Hill Cemetery. Visitation from 10 until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, also at the church. Curtis & Son Funeral Home, North Chapel directing. Homegoing service remembering the life of Mr. Kerry Anthony Ricky Curry will be Saturday at 3 o'clock from Kelly Springs Missionary Baptist Church, with Pastor L.L. Jacobs officiating. Interment in the Hall Grove Cemetery. Public viewing today, 2 till 7 at the funeral home. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home directing. Ms. Constance J. Green, age 53, died November the 11th, Community Funeral Home announcing. And Mr. Mark Harris, age 56, also died November the 11th, Community Funeral Home, Sylacauga announcing. Homegoing celebration remembering the life of Mrs. Louise McGregor James, age 93, is Saturday at 11 a.m. from S.M. Goodson Funeral Home Chapel, with Reverend Joseph Stafford Rouser Jr. officiating. Interment in the Pine Hill Cemetery. Public visitation today, 3 till 8 at the funeral home. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home directing. Ricky Wayne Limbaugh, age 61, died November the 8th. The family will receive friends Saturday from noon until 2 p.m. at Talladega Funeral Home. Service follows at 2 in the chapel. Talladega Funeral Home in charge of the arrangements. Homegoing service remembering the life of Miss Bobby L. Morris will be Saturday, November 13th at 1 o'clock from S.M. Goodson Funeral Home Chapel, with Pastor Bennett Webb officiating. Interment in the Oak Hill Cemetery. Public viewing today, 2 till 7 at the funeral home. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home directing. Celebration of life for Vanessa Ann Oden Russ, age 67, is Saturday at noon from Community Funeral Home Chapel in Sylacauga, with the Reverend Ernest Oden Jr. officiating. Interment in the Sylacauga Cemetery. Community Funeral Home directing. Masks are required for all attending services. Mr. Warren Stovall of Goodwater died November 6th. Armour's Memorial Funeral Home, Alexander City, directing. Funeral service for homegoing celebration remembering the life of Mr. Willie J. Mahan, age 79, is today at 1 o'clock from S.M. Goodson Funeral Home Chapel, with Pastor Willie E. Hearn Sr. officiating. Interment in the Pine Hill AOH Church of God Cemetery in Alpine. S.M. Goodson Funeral Home directing. And funeral service for Charlene Taylor Murphy, age 98, is today at 11 a.m. from First Baptist Church in Sylacauga. Family time visitation beginning at 9:30, followed by visitation by family and friends beginning at 10 o'clock. In lieu of flowers, the family is encouraging those who wish to make a donation to the Missions First Fund at First Baptist Church in Sylacauga. Radley Smith Funeral Home directing. And funeral service for Libby Joe Hutto, age 74, will be today at 3 o'clock from Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega, with Don Little officiating. Ursery Funeral Home in Talladega in charge of the arrangements. This obituary report this morning, courtesy of Curtis & Son Funeral Home, the North Chapel on Highway 21 in Sylacauga, and the Childersburg Chapel on Highway 280 in Childersburg. For pre-need funerals, burials, or cremation since 1975, Curtis & Son Funeral Home, Sylacauga.